Would you believe it if I told you that there were actually dinosaurs in the Game of Thrones book series? And what if I told you that in the books, there are signs that point to dragons sharing a common ancestry with these predatory beasts? Well, today I have scoured the books and I'm bringing all the evidence. So be sure to stay until the end for some interesting comments by our author on the subject. So, as heretical as dinosaurs in George R. R. Martin's world may sound, you may be surprised to learn that there are some bipedal predatory lizards located just south of Valyria within the continental landmass of Sothoryos. According to the World Book, within Sothoryos, there's a creature called the tattooed lizard, and details how these creatures stalk the jungles, running down their prey and ripping them apart with long curved claws on their powerful hind legs. This peculiar description has caused much speculation that these predators might actually be dinosaurs, likely a type of dromaeosaur or raptor-like creature, as raptors are also described as tearing apart their prey with their characteristic curved claws on their powerful hind legs. Of course, an even more telling example is mentioned as early as Book 1 of A Game of Thrones. In an Arya chapter, Syrio mentions that the Sea Lord of Braavos has a collection of very curious creatures, one of which is described as a terrible walking lizard with scythes for claws. Interestingly enough, this creature is described as a terrible lizard, and the word dinosaur is actually derived from the Greek word dinosauria, which literally means terrible lizard. And the name walking lizard not only suggests this creature as being bipedal, but the family of raptors, or the genus Dromaeosaurus, name is derived from the Greek word for running lizard, and possesses something called a sickle claw. And linguistically, the words scythe and sickle are often used interchangeably. So basically, in one sentence, we are being told in several different ways that the Sea Lord of Braavos is keeping a dinosaur for a pet. And it's probably a raptor. And if you've read the books, you might already be aware of this. But what you might not have known is that our author himself has mentioned that there are dinosaurs in his world, as confirmation of this came in 2015 when a fan was live tweeting an event where George R. R. Martin was speaking, and one of those tweets had revealed our author mentioning that dinosaurs did in fact exist in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. So the fandom naturally put two and two together, realizing that our author was likely referring to the raptor-esque tattooed and walking lizards found in Sothoryos and in the Sea Lord's menagerie. And this should not come as a shock, as George R. R. Martin is a self-professed fan of the Jurassic Park novel written by Michael Crichton, which features raptors significantly and brought them to the forefront of popular culture. So, from this information, we know that a bipedal predator, similar to a raptor, does likely exist in the jungles of Sothoryos, and this alone wouldn't be a big deal, just a fun world-building nod. However, there is something else native to the same region of Sothoryos that should have our attention. Wyverns. Farther south lie the regions known as the Green Hell, where beasts even more fearsome are said to dwell. There, if the tales are to be trusted, are caverns full of pale white vampire bats who can drain the blood from a man in minutes. Tattooed lizards stalk the jungles, running down their prey and ripping them apart with long curved claws on their powerful hind legs. Snakes, 50 feet long, slither through the underbrush, and spotted spiders weave their webs amongst the great trees. Most terrible of all are the wyverns, those tyrants of the southern skies, with their great leathery wings, cruel beaks, and insatiable hunger. Close kin to dragons, wyverns cannot breathe fire, but they exceed their cousins in ferocity, and are a match for them in all respects save size. Wyverns are winged reptilian creatures who are a match to dragons in many ways, but are described as even more ferocious. And despite all the incredible and fantastical creatures that can be found in Sothoryos, like the tattooed lizard, the World Book describes wyverns as the most terrible of all, which is quite horrifying when you think about it. The World Book goes on to retell that there are different varieties of wyverns. Brindled wyverns, with their distinctive jade and white scales, grow up to 30 feet long. Swamp wyverns have been known to attain even greater size, though they are sluggish by nature and seldom fly far from their lairs. Brown bellies, no larger than monkeys, are even more dangerous than their larger kin, for they hunt in packs of 100 or more. Most dreaded of all is the Shadow Wing, a nocturnal monster whose black scales and wings makes him all but invisible until he descends out of the darkness to tear apart his prey. So, if you aren't already aware, wyverns are closely related to dragons, and are even mistaken for dragons by the untrained eye. The maesters describe them as cousins to their much larger fire-breathing counterparts, and Septim Barth, a figure who is usually right, has even suggested that wyvern stock was used in dragon creation, which, if you've watched my other Dragon Origins videos, you will know this is a pretty good bet. But however you look at it, wyverns being of a relation to dragons in A Song of Ice and Fire is definitely a thing. And now this is where it gets interesting. Knowing the tattooed lizards within the jungles of Sothoryos are raptor-like creatures, if wyverns are from the same region of the planet, well, the possibility exists these two species are related as well. Wyverns, in a sense, could be a relative of this bipedal predator that is capable of flight, which would make a lot of sense, as raptors in our own world did eventually evolve into modern-day birds.
Look at the pubic bone, turned backward, just like a bird. Look at the vertebrae, full of air sacs and hollows, just like a bird.
And even the word raptor means bird of prey.
Interestingly, on several occasions, our author has mentioned the significance of dragons possessing 2 legs instead of 4, which has traditionally been a recurring feature of dragons in fantasy literature. The rationale of this being that no animal has ever evolved in such a way.
Other dragons by fantasy writers have 4 legs and wings. I just have 2 legs and wings.
Why? Why?
Because it's more scientifically accurate. There's no animal on Earth that has 4 legs plus wings.
Which means that he did take some consideration into how a dragon, or a wyvern, might have evolved. And like raptors, wyverns are described as ferocious, hunting in packs and tearing apart prey that is somewhat reminiscent of the Jurassic Park novel. And just as dinosaurs are described as terrible lizards, when introduced in the World Book, wyverns are described as most terrible of all. And this would be keeping with Martin's past themes, because just as Valyrians have a psychic bond to their mounts in this series, in one of his previous novels, he literally had characters psychically controlling and riding a dinosaur, specifically a Tyrannosaurus, a creature whose Greek name means tyrant lizard, and because of this, Martin refers to his Tyrannosaurus as a tyrant lizard in that story, which is another intriguing word choice, as wyverns are not only described as most terrible of all, but also the tyrants of the southern skies. And if true, if the wyvern is of a relation to the dinosaurs of Sothoryos, and if this evolutionary relationship does exist, then this line in the Iron Suitor chapter of A Dance with Dragons starts to become much more significant. The Dragon Queen awaits me in Meereen, the fairest woman in the world, if my brother could be believed. Her hair is silver gold, her eyes are amethysts. Was it too much to hope that for once Euron had told it true? Perhaps. Like as not, this girl would prove to be some pock-faced slattern, with teeth slapping against her knees. Her dragons? No more than tattooed lizards from the swamps of Sothoryos. Get it? Her dragons are no more than tattooed lizards from the swamps of Sothoryos. So, who knows? Maybe one of the components used in dragon creation was even more terrible than we realize.
I don't know. What does make dragons cool? I mean, as a kid, besides those aliens, I also had plastic dinosaurs. And dinosaurs are cool. And dragons are like dinosaurs with wings and breathing fire. It may be that dinosaurs were the inspiration for dragons, that sometime in prehistory, primitive early man dug up these strange, huge skulls of dinosaurs. They didn't know what the hell it was. They made up stories about dragons, maybe.
If you like this video, be sure to leave a comment and hit that like button. They really do help the channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you're interested in supporting my channel memberships are available and members get the chance to watch my content before everyone else. And for those who are already members, Thank you so much for your support.